Hey, what's going on? It's Jack Milocco for Beardbrand. Today, let's take a look at my beard versus that of the Master Barber, the Yogi, the Wizard with a pair of scissors, Mahesh Hayward. Mahesh Hayward is a multifaceted man with a multifaceted beard, and today we're going to take a look at it in 5 different sections. That's right, just like we did with Costa, Eric Bandholz, and beginning with Greg Berzinsky, we're going to look at 5 different things today with Mahesh Hayward's own beard, okay? Beginning with mustache, chin, cheeks, jaw and neck, and finally, patches. Let's jump right in with number 1, and that's mustache. Mahesh Hayward has a mustache that's very, very similar to that of Eric Bandholz. It grows down in an I'd almost call it like a banana peel style. But what really differentiates Mahesh's mustache versus Eric Bandholz's is a bit of careful trimming, okay? So what Mahesh does, and he's demonstrated this in the barbershop a handful of times, is he'll actually take scissors and cut a bit of a V, or fishtail as he calls it, into the middle of his mustache. Now, fortunately for a guy like me, I don't have to worry about ever having to do that because I naturally have this little gap in the middle of my mustache. Mahesh cuts that fishtail into the middle of his mustache because he says otherwise he's eating his mustache every single day and he's sharing his coffee with his mustache all the time. A lot of guys in the barbershop and over in England will do this because, again, it gets the mustache out of their mouth. I personally don't agree with this version of cutting the mustache. I think it takes away from the overall shape, but it does add a little bit of uniqueness to it. You definitely know Mahesh's mustache when you see it because of that gap in the middle that he naturally puts in there. I'm not 100% sure what Mahesh is doing with the mustache in terms of products. Maybe he's got a little bit of styling balm in there, maybe a little bit of wax. Hell, he may just be combing it. Either way, it all leads up to a mustache that looks very naturally curly and very coarse, which I actually really like. One thing that we'll notice in his mustache that carries into other parts of his beard is discoloration. Now, Mahesh is really not that old. He's in his early 40s. But at this stage in his life, he's experiencing a lot of different types of color in his beard and in his hair. Mostly white. So if we see his mustache, we notice that there's quite a bit of white in that mustache, in addition to the darkish black and gray that still exists in his mustache. Overall, just like with the other beardsmen I've talked about, Mahesh's mustache absolutely clobbers mine. Again, he has at least 20 years on me, so of course he's going to have a bit more of a mustache than me, and I'll have plenty of time to grow my own, but I do take a bit of an inspiration from Mahesh, though, in the way that he likes to keep his mustache out of his mouth. I don't trim mine like he does, although I have been trimming my mustache more recently, but I do not trim it all the way above my lip. I more or less just put a little bit of styling balm, or more recently, utility balm into my mustache just to keep it slightly to the sides of my lips. I don't like to brush it straight down anymore because I've noticed more recently that when I push my mustache to the side, it looks a bit thicker. So wrapping up this section, of course, Mahesh has the bigger mustache, but again, he has a little bit of inspiration that has come to me, and he likes to curl it just barely on the sides and again, cut that middle in there. Okay, let's move on to section number 2. Section number 2 of this video will be covering the chin. Now, this is where I'll reference an old picture from Mahesh's Instagram account where he's did a side-by-side of himself in 2008 versus 2018. What's interesting about this is because of Mahesh's, I believe, Italian genetics, he does have a clefted chin just like me. But what's interesting about this is when you see Mahesh's beard grown out, you don't notice that cleft at all. Now with me, again, of course, I've talked this to death, but with my cleft chin, it's very prominent and you can really see it underneath my beard, even when it grows out. With Mahesh, however, his growth pattern goes all the way up to the bottom of his lip. And again, you'll notice that discoloration is its heaviest right here in the chin, where it's absolutely white, save for a few gray hairs right underneath the bottom lip in the soul patch area. Overall, again, I think Mahesh takes the cake in this section, but again, like I've been saying with every other beardsman, he's at least got 20 years on me, so I've got time to catch up. But hey, I kind of like my little cleft that I have that's really prominent when I grow out my beard. It gives it character, if you will. All right, let's move on to section number 3. Section number 3 of this video will be covering the cheeks. Now again, I'm going to reference that picture of the side-by-side of Mahesh where we really notice his cheeks don't grow up very high. They're mostly concentrated down here in his jawline. Now, if you look at the 2018 portion of that side-by-side, it doesn't look like they're that thin or that low. Just like with Eric Bandholz, his cheeks are lower, but Because of the giant mustache and the thick chin and the relative thickness that is the cheeks, really doesn't detract from the overall appearance of his beard. Now, where it does detract is when he grows out his beard long. So if we reference those photos of Mahesh when his beard was down to his chest, the cheeks don't look like they're strong. They're actually, in fact, probably the weakest part of the whole beard if we look at this. Now, this may be because the discoloration left his cheeks pretty grayish and dark black and brown, really just not the white that's down there in the bottom of his beard. So it does look a bit different, and it does immediately bring your attention to the fact that they're not the strongest part of his beard. But, however, he wears it nowadays pretty short, and it doesn't detract at all from the beard. It actually looks like a better part of it. If you catch Mahesh on an off day, you'll sometimes notice that he's got the sort of little spattering of hairs up here on his upper cheeks, just like Greg Berzinsky. I can see why he shaves these down, because it gives his beard more of an overall better shape if he does shave them down. If you look back at the old photos of me or the old videos of me where I was letting my own cheeks grow up pretty high, it kind of just detracts from the overall shape of a beard. If you personally like to grow up your cheeks high and tight and let them go full natural, that's on you, and you can continue to rock that as you want. But personally, for me, Mahesh, Greg, and pretty much every other beardsman on the channel, we like to keep our cheeks pretty clean to give it the better shape. All right, overall, I'd say I take the cake on this section because my cheeks do come in very high, very thick, and they don't really detract anything from my beard. If anything, you get to notice these cool little patches that I have and give it a cool little shape to my beard. All right? Sorry, Mahesh. Cheeks go to me. Moving on to section number 4. Section 4, the jaw and the neck. Now, this is where Mahesh and I really go toe-to-toe because he, just like me with my hot Italian genes, grows a significantly long beard, and he has rocked that long beard for a long time, man, and it is incredible when it's long. But one thing that you'll notice that just like with me, it gets a bit wispy as the beard gets longer. Now, we'll touch on this a little bit at the end of the video, but Mahesh and I have our beards thickest right about here. Once it goes past the neck, that's when you get that wispiness. Another thing I want to mention with Mahesh is at the bottom of his beard, really from the jawline down, it's pure white with just a tiny little sprinkling of darker hairs every once in a while. But overall, if you think of Mahesh, you probably think of one, that curly little mustache with a little dip in the middle, or you think of that long beard that he used to have. Because that really was his iconic look, but hey, we'll touch on that later. So, overall, I think Mahesh takes this one with the length of his beard being way more significant that he rocked over those many years than I ever had at the tail end of my year that I did about a year ago. Finally, section 5, we'll talk about patches. Now, just like with Carlos Costa, Mahesh, at least to the best of my knowledge, does not have a single one on his entire face. You could split hairs with me, and say that the little spattering of hairs that grow on his cheeks could be considered a patch, but come on, man, we're not going to be that harsh on him because realistically, you look at this thing and there is nothing to it, man. The mustache covers up everything. The chin goes all the way to the upper lip. There's none of those classic patches that you see right here. The cheeks are low, but there is not a patch to be seen in those things. And of course, the neck goes all the way down. Me, on the other hand, we know my patches. They're right here, they're right here, and they're right here. So again, I'm a young guy. I've got plenty of time for these things to fall into place eventually, but for right now, I'm in no rush to fill these things in. So Mahesh, you take the cake on section 5 with no patches to be seen. Now, let me talk about something a little bit different as we wrap up this video. Mahesh did something a little bit dramatic. You've already noticed it, and I've already talked about it to death in this video, but that is, he trimmed his beard from that chest-length beard to what now is really about where mine is, maybe just a little bit longer. Why he did this was, you can see the video for yourself, I'll link it down in the description, but overall, I think it was just more for a change. But what I noticed in him doing this is that his beard actually looks thicker. So all of you guys out there who are trying to grow those long beards, or you do have those long beards, and you're noticing, hey, maybe it's not as thick as I want it to be, or I want this thing to look a little bit more complete, or a little bit bigger, or a little bit fuller. Maybe try out what Mahesh did and consider trimming up your beard a little bit. Again, I'll remind you, it's just hair. You don't need to be so hard on yourself with this stuff. If you trim it, it's not like that's it. You're stuck with the rest of your life with that shorter beard. You can always grow it back, and hey, if you don't like it, Just set the razor down. Stop going to the barber shop except for those little maintenance trims here and there. You can grow it back, but hey, if you have the opportunity, I encourage you to try out a shorter beard. I'm doing that nowadays. I'm even trimming up my mustache, and I think I like this a little bit better. It does add to a more complete shape and a more complete look for my beard, and I think Mahesh noticed the same thing. So if you are on the fence about your longer beard and you want to make it look a little bit more full, consider going a little bit shorter. But again, it is your beard. If you want to keep it long and strong and down to get the friction on, you do that. That's on you. That's your choice. That's your beard. And I encourage you to do whatever you want to do. Okay? So that'll bring us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and doing everything in there and in between. Let me know down in the comments who you'd like to see next. Maybe we'll finally tackle Jeff Boncristiano's beard and bring the beardsmen of the Beardbrand beards, or whatever you want to call this little mini-series, to a sort of end. And then maybe we'll open it up to celebrities or whatever else you want to see. Okay? So until then, guys, hey, thanks for watching. And hey, keep on growing.
Thanks for watching this video. Beardbrand has launched a private community called The Alliance. It's for men who are looking to invest in themselves and who are looking to keep on growing. Click the link over there and come join us, or stick around and watch some more awesome videos.